मित्रों, इसके पहले कि हम आज का निर्धारित कार्यक्रम शुरू करें, दोपहर को एक दुखद दुर्घटना हुई है। हमारे मित्र और हिंदी के बहुत ही निर्भीक और साहसी कवि आलोचक विष्णु खरे का देहावसान हो गया। जो लोग हिंदी साहित्य से परिचित हैं वो उनकी बेबाक, निर्भीक और निर्भय उपस्थिति से भी परिचित रहे होंगे। हम लोगों ने साथ साथ लिखना शुरू किया था और 18 बरस की उम्र में उन्होंने टी.एस. इलियट की अंग्रेजी कविताओं का हिंदी अनुवाद भी कर दिया था। तो वो कुछ दिनों से बीमार थे। पिछले दिनों वो यहाँ दिल्ली सरकार की हिंदी अकादमी के उपाध्यक्ष कराए थे। एक आध महीना ही हुआ होगा। बड़े जीवट के आदमी थे वैसे। तो हम 1 मिनट का मौन उनकी स्मृति में रखेंगे। उसके बाद and the India Habitat Center, we welcome you this evening to the 6th Habib Tanvir Memorial Lecture. We have been organizing 8 annual memorial lectures trying to commemorate some of the great figures, major figures of our time, and also create a critical mass around the various disciplines. So apart from Habib Tanvir, we have Kumar Gandhar, we have Daya Krishna, we have Kelucharan Mahapatra, we have Mani Kaul, we have Agge, we have Charles Korea, in whose memory we hold annual lectures. The Habib Tanvir Memorial Lecture has been earlier given by Sadanand Menon, Navjyoti Singh, Shanta Gokhale, Neelam Man Singh, and Rustam Bharucha. And this year, RATAN THIYAM agreed to deliver it. In a manner of speaking, it is appropriate because if you identify Habib Tanvir as an alternative modern theatrical innovator, then in the same stream one may consider RATAN THIYAM also to be following the same trend. RATAN THIYAM has been many things. Of course, he is more notorious as a theatre director, but he is also an unsuspected poet. He has been a designer, a painter, a composer, and a choreographer. And all these elements go into making the kind of theatre he does. His theatre, once I saw a play based on Ritu Sanghar, wasn't it? Yes. Ritu Sanghar is merely description. There is no story, there is no narrative going around. So it is pure Drishya Kavya, as it's known in the Sanskrit tradition. And I remember in Bharat Bhavan, it kept us glued to our seats watching him do this Drishya Kavya. So he is capable of doing, he has taken great narrative theatre also, but also theatre out of almost nothing. He has been chairman of the Chorus Repertory theatre in Imphal, and Manipur has been very theatrically very fertile, apart from the Manipuri dance, and we would have never known some of the great theatre that is possible in such a far off place, and to become important mainstream theatre. He has been a fellow of the Sangeet Natak Academy, which means he must have already got the Sangeet Natak Academy award earlier. He has been a fellow of Ford Foundation, Japan Foundation, Korean Foundation, and a fellow of the Manipur State Academy. He holds 4 honorary DLids from the universities, namely Rabindra Bharati, Guwahati, Assam, and Utkal. He has won many awards, of course. Kalidas Samman, National Academy Award, Sangeet Natak Academy, Padma Shri, Nandikar Award, P.N. Shah Award, B.B. Karan Award, Al-Qazi Foundation Award. Oh, the list is so long that I'm not going to read it. He recently got, a few days ago, the Legions of India Lifetime Achievement Award, and many state awards, including the Manipuri State Kala Academy Award. He has remains so, the chairman of the National School of Drama. He is the member of the FTII Society, executive council member, Rajiv Gandhi University, wherever it is, Arunachal Pradesh. Member of the Central Advisory Board on Culture, Ministry of Culture, and again several things, including Vice Chairman, Jawaharlal Nehru Manipur Dance Academy, Imphal. He has written 4 novels, 1 short story collection, 10 full-length plays, 6 poetry collections, and 1 short plays. He has also translated Greek classical plays, Japanese No and Kyojin plays, and Indian classics. And he has been all over the place, as choreographer, as visualizer, as artistic director, as faculty theatre director, including Fordham University, New York, and Fordham Oliveto Theatre Institute, Italy. And he has made Rajashri Bhagyachandra documentary, etc., etc. So, and now his list of production in theatre, which is more relevant to the occasion, runs into quite a lot. So I'm not going to read that either. And now request Ratan THIYAM to talk about his theatre and his journey, which has been one of the most momentous theatre and journey of modern Indian theatre. Ratan THIYAM.
Ladies and gentlemen, connoisseurs of art and dear colleagues, my namaskar to you all. I feel deeply honored by this invitation. It is to share my humble experience in the field of culture. As a theatre practitioner, I will concentrate in some of the major aspects of my theater and also my journey and Indian culture a little bit. I hope you will kindly lend me your patience and listen with leniency. Theater for me is a kind of saying without which it is very difficult to think in day-to-day basis. I cannot think without theater. I only can think with theater. Let's see. Every writing, every painting, every movement represents an idea. Each word of an actor is meaningful, and each thought has its own word symbols to express the inner experience. It is through constant emphasization of this that the awareness is germinated in the mind and heart of the spectator or the reader, which is very important for me to understand as a theater person. For me, theater is a continuous process of conversation between the performer and the spectator, which helps the audience to create its own imagination, think about happenings, and digest the enactment with his own philosophical understanding and perception. He receives everything, whatever is happening on stage. He receives with his intellect, his own ideology, and there is always a kind of reciprocal situation created between the spectator and the performer all the time on stage. Sometimes the performer comes and establishes a bridge from the proscenium to the rows of spectator. The performer comes and cocks to shake the hand with the spectator, and the spectator also come and shake the hand with the performer. And that's how a performance becomes a bridge of communication between the performer and the spectator. Theater stands as one of the most complicated art form, because theater is sometimes very systematic. Theater is sometimes non-systematic at all. Theater is sometimes, with quite a lot of canons of Bharata Muni. And then theater is sometimes quite a lot of liberal attitude with bhasa. Theater is such a thing. We cannot really say that theater is this, and its expression is in terms of thousands. There is no one shape or one form of theater. It has been always in terms of thousands. So, as one of the most complicated art form, it is. And because its nature and style of presentation deals with a confederation of many art forms also, you know that. To mention a few, it includes dance, music, acting, movement, architecture, scenic design, lighting, literature, etc., etc. Many things. Even it includes the empty space and the relationship with the empty space and the soundscape. See, and that's why it's a collective endeavor all the time. Thus, it plays a stronger role of collective activity and hold to the same standard, even if expectations, norms, and cultural influences vary from region to region, language to language, and tradition to tradition. In short, while making theatre, we celebrate a festival of cultural diversity and forms while making it a production, a theatre. The courageous and bold attitude of theatre differentiates itself from many other art forms too. It is very courageous and very bold, and is perhaps one of the greatest legacies cherished by mankind, because it always makes a protest. Theatre is all the time, it's protesting, attacking the system, the wrong system. So, always makes a protest and attacks the wrong system whenever and wherever it is essential. And that is why we don't find a single play written in the last 2,500 years of history of theatre which doesn't throw arguments, protest, and strip down the wrong system. Even if you go to all the plays, including Greek plays, you'll find it is fighting, attacking the system. Not only the regime, the government, the individuals, etc., even the gods and goddesses are not spared if they are corrupt and perform any act against humanity. The art of theatre dwells on understanding the system, the purpose and meaning of life. And that's why spectators are there, audiences are there in the auditorium to understand and to share it. A performance of theatre represents thematic content, valuable ideas, and inner experience of human being, which are expressed through word, symbol, posture, gesture, movements, penetrating and covering the space with vibrant energy and producing soundscape. Its basic essence has been always to create a meaningful dialogue between performer and audience equipped with highest degree of aesthetics in the performance. And this is where the search of aesthetics from Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra onwards started in India. It's the most valuable thing, aesthetics, Saundarya Bodh. And Indian theatre really is always has been depending on aesthetics. And that is why Indian theatre is different from any other kind of theatre available in this world. Because in Indian theatre you'll find dance, you'll find music, you'll find painting, you'll find everything together. And that too, in such a way where some of the greatest poets, including Kalidas or Bhas, all the poets, they have tried their own luck by writing plays where many of the slokas, many of the lines, could able to bring out the best of the aesthetics, whatever they could do, dwell upon. Despite of the fact that we have in theater, also in culture, a lack in supporting system. That is there in Indian culture and Indian theater, and nobody can deny it. That we lack in the support system. The condition of theater activity, in spite of all these things, support system, the theater activity and practice seems to have made considerable progress in all the regions in terms of modernity in approach, style of expression, and contemporary relevance. Our theater is very powerful because of the regional theater. So, in the regional theater, what is happening in spite of lack of support system? There are great enthusiasm, hard work, and determination of theater lovers and makers, which are found in every nook and corner of this lane, makes our theater very rich. The emergence of more and more young directors, playwrights, actors, designers, choreographers, and composers in Indian theater and their new productions has made our history very proud. And soon, I believe, it will make an impact in the international theater scenario with its own identity. I don't know how long it will take to get a recognition in the international level, because Indian theater is amateur theater, and that we need to improve a very, very good professional quality to be able to go off and to be able to make a challenge in the international theater scene. Of course, many of the theater groups that travel everywhere in this world, and they have traveled because of their own community. That the community is having a Durga Puja, so they will call a theater group and they will perform. So the Malayalam community will do, the Bengali community will do, and the same thing also happens in dance, everywhere. But so far the international quality is concerned, it is a very big thing. Because from New Zealand to New York, the big guns, the big festivals starting from Avignon or New Zealand Festival or the Adelaide Festival, Serpentino Festival, all these big festivals, they are looking out for the best of the best, and their directors are connected because they have a very good network. They know what is happening. And that's why we wait for the invitation. But our professionalism, and that is not professionalism of talent and creative quality. It's a professionalism to support financially. We don't have that. And we don't have that in this country. I don't know how long it will take. And soon I believe it will make an impact, of course, in the international theater scenario with our own identity. But, the pressure of globalization and giant market economy my God, cannot be avoided so easily. So easily, and it is making its own impact in a sensitive art form like theater, and remains as one of the most important issues of the contemporary Indian theater. A good theater carries the ability to leave behind an imprint to the intellect and senses of the spectators. It is a vehicle of expression for sharing thoughts to a wide ambience across intellectual, cultural, and linguistic boundaries. In theater, the expression has been always changing time, changing styles. When time changes, the style changes. It also happens in painting. It also happens in other art forms. And so theater is also the same. It is because it is a result that we are awaiting, the result of continuous laboratory process. It needs a continuous laboratory process involved in it and demand the freshness as a complicated and powerful art form. Theater is very, very challenging here. It's because, theater is not exploitation anywhere. Like you can exploit a raga, like you can exploit the tradition of any gharana of dance. After learning the whole system, the systematic treatment in dance, whether it is Kathak, whether it is Mohiniyattam, whether it is Odissi or Bharatanatyam, or anything in that case, it goes on. And it is about the maturity, it is about the best of the best aesthetics, spiritual quality, and so on. But in theater, theater is very dangerous. In theater, I do a production today, and everybody says that it's a good production. And tomorrow, if I repeat another play, a kind of play, and I do the same kind of thing, people will say that this is a rotten thing. You see? But you can see that in other dance form, other everywhere, that you can at least continue. But not in theater, not in theater. Everybody will say it's a rotten thing. But, in spite of all my practices, but if anybody asks me, what is theater? I will definitely say, I don't know what is theater. All my life I have been trying to understand it, but the more I progress, it becomes more complicated. The more I quench my thirst, the thirstier it makes me. Expressions and thoughts in theater is a never ending process, an exercise. The exploration of techniques which leads to produce high quality performance in theater has been and remains as a complicated laboratory process. It is never known. In this changing world and challenging journey, I sincerely feel that theater serves as a confluence of river of modernity, the past, present, and future, where very important issues, complex aesthetics, and philosophical challenges are negotiated. The art of theater is a journey of meditation for me. I think the most beautiful aspect of this art is building a bridge between the inner and the outer aspects of my life, between higher and abstract thinking. It shows the paths of ideas and inspiration and makes more human with powerful creative expressions which come out from the silent realm of mind. It is said that everything which eventuates on earth has first been born in the world of mind. And we should therefore remember that the new world of tomorrow is hourly being built by our thinking today in art. In spite of many up and down situations that I face in my journey, I feel fortunate enough that I belong to this country, where our culture and performing art tradition flourished under the canopy of various ethnic colors with a composition of diverse elements and multiplicity. Our style of expression, which gradually is diminishing, but I should say our style of expression is indigenous. Establishment of connectivity with our ancestors, different types of rituals and fertility rites, Mother Earth, water, fire, sun, moon, sky, forest, and creatures are main resources of our traditional performing art forms. It also encompasses our daily practices, ranging from harvesting, reaping, and sowing to the protection of our own community and contribution towards the development of society, which reflects in our theater. Ladies and gentlemen, my theater, my piece of work and expression is a response to my existence in everyday life. It contains my tradition, inspiration of myths and legend, and even the lovely and tastiest Manipuri cuisine that I eat and I consume. It reflects in my production. Eagerness of entering unknown area. Eagerness of entering unknown area, new and untried methods, unfamiliar devices, helps me in my experimentation. In each new piece of work, I feel that I'm wrestling with techniques to find out the exact vehicle of expression for the thematic content. I feel as if I'm coming back from a pilgrimage after each and every production I have completed. It's like that. This feeling is essentially a satisfaction of my own and not meant for anyone else. It's so deep. But you see, when I finish a production, the premiere performance is the end of the road. The premiere performance, when I do it, that means I don't want to look back. I die there. And I want to born in another womb with freshness. After the premiere performance, if rehearsal is coming, that's the most tough and difficult part for me. The most boring thing I have ever experienced in my life is to see my rehearsals after the performances. I don't like it. Yeah, go there and watch. Go there and watch the rehearsal, asking myself, this is what Ratan THIYAM you have done. And that's why it's so boring, and that's why I don't go. The assistant director, the stage manager, the production manager, they will look after, and I try to do it, to avoid it all the time, until and unless it is very important for them. I try to avoid it. It's so boring. I die, so I want to born in the womb, and then that's the end of my conversation with the playwrights also. Picking up a playwright like Tagore or Shakespeare or Ibsen, say, I'll be just sitting, I'll be just sleeping with them, eating food with them, asking questions. So 24 hours I'll be living with them, asking arguments, many arguments. So, so my 24 hours is spent with them till the end of the production. And after the premiere, I say goodbye to them. I'm a dreamer. My dream takes me forward in my journey. Well, making a theater requires rigorous training program, well-needed infrastructure, and appropriate funding. And that's why, without a proper culture policy, the question of aesthetics, professionalism, purpose, and meaning may remain unanswered. It is therefore there is always a chance to become part-time amateur activity, where the quality of theater is compromised. Indian theater at this moment passing through a changing phase, though it is poorly visible around the world. New and exciting dramatic works are coming up everywhere else where the presence of regional theater is vibrant. The emergence of a couple of very good imaginative directors, and groups has made our theater very active now. One can witness the approach towards futurism, or just down to art realism, or highly stylized expression in a performance. Modern approaches to classical Indian drama is gaining high popularity in some of the places. To sum up, it is very clear that Indian theater has been undergoing a creative resurgence now. We live in a world with new cultural landscape. The technological fanfare, my dear friends, the technological fanfare has made us more intoxicating, and the society is increasingly indulging to this orientation program. It has also influenced our day-to-day lifestyle and succeeded in penetrating all spheres of human endeavor. We enjoy all the amenities and comforts of those new discoveries, and there is no doubt that technological innovation has improved our life and has to be congratulated for providing a new dimension for moving our culture forward through accelerated communication. But the distinction between the energy which we are getting from the comfort and the original human energy has created new dilemma about human cultural evolution and the place of our own body and mind in this new cultural landscape. Where are we? There is an increasingly dependence upon the non-animal energy, creating an ever-widening gap between reality and illusions. It has also affected in creative aspects of human thinking because of more attraction towards the idea of visual orientation and penetration, where criteria of believing becomes only seeing. Our life is more intoxicating day by day with limitless external comfort and new discoveries. It is very different kind of development and progress where man is surrendering gradually his own self and own senses and making himself accustomed to a mechanical life which is controlled and designed by other environment. And we, artists and art, is also becoming a part of that. It is exactly in this that culture and tradition, you see, becomes an inevitable part of refined understanding of philosophy of life. It encompasses intrinsic impressions, tendencies, convictions, fates, inclinations, emotions, thoughts, and imaginations. Apart from air, water, and food, we also require a compatible ambience. Peace and happiness and art provide us the expression of experience of the world and aspiration of human spirit. If we want to enhance the quality of altruism, then we have to tone down. And if we want to really take art in a higher aspect, then we have to tone down our materialistic approach and work more and more towards coaxing and creating awareness of art to make the society an individual and a more cultured person, and there is a chance of making spiritual awakening. Friends, I would like to share a few things more, not much, about present situation of our own thinking about Indian culture. India is really a land which is multifaceted with thousands of languages and dialects, multi-religious, multi-racial country with innumerable cultural traditions and ritualistic treasure house which are thousands of years old. Traditions inexorably continue to exist in this land, equipped with inexhaustible forms of dance, theater, music, martial art, puppetry, singing, chanting, ballet, hymns, mystic-oriented performance, etc., etc. But unfortunately, the development of cultural scenario in the last so many years after independence is far from satisfactory. We could not even implement any decision of any high power committee for a better future of art and artists. And it is true that all the major art and culture bodies may suffer in future from losing gradually their own autonomy in near future without proper policy. Understanding all these things and understanding the concept, interpreting it again and again, and thinking about the traditional and contemporary art form plays a greater role in making appropriate culture policy. It is also amazing fact that in spite of thousands of performing art forms and tradition in this country, there is no cultural policy seriously worked out to bring development and nurture the art forms and recognize good talents. There is no attempt made so far with real understanding of art and culture to promote cultural activities in India. And if you look at the budget of the culture, it is almost nil. It is nil in comparison to other streams. And there has been continuous changes according to the political changes, where each and every time mechanical and unimaginative ideas are being planted to co-opt the political linings. I reckon that at this juncture, the system of culture needs a proper overhaul through well-thought strategies and careful planning so that it does not suffer from inadequate policies and ill-defined decisions. It is really absurd to observe that there is no national culture complex in this country. Look at India. If you go anywhere in this world, you look at their complex culture complex. And that's how it became their own showcase of culture, their civilization and everything. If you go anywhere, even the latest one in Beijing, my God, beautiful. So we don't have a national culture complex or national theater complex in our country. We don't have national theater. We don't have national dance repertories. We don't have national music repertories. You see, everybody has heard about Neo Philharmonic Orchestra. Everybody hears about any kind of philharmonic, any kind of repertory. Great, ballet troupe in this world, company in this world, that, this and that. We don't have a single one. I don't know. They say that this is God's own country and so on, so they left it to God. Really, there is no proper attention given to the development of folk and tribal art forms. We have failed to realize the fact that, you see, there are so many masters died with their own in every tradition in this country. Nobody was there to look after them. And when a master dies, an art form follows him to the grave. So the art form dies. It won't come back. So how many art forms died? We don't know. And now, lakhs of artists, some of them very talented, very creative, some of maybe to be counted, so. But they all are hungry. They all work in an empty space with empty stomach. Where will they go? कभी कभी थक जाता हूँ सोचकर, थकान है बहुत, क्योंकि इधर देखो उधर देखो कहीं भी कुछ नहीं है। एक्टर आकर मुझे पूछता है पैसे दो, मैं कहता हूं कल ले लेना, कल मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है। एक्टर चला जाता है, थक जाता हूं। बहुत एक्टर मर भी गए, बहुत सारे। बहुत एक्टर काम करने नहीं आए क्योंकि उसकी बच्चे को स्कूल जाना है, कुछ और प्रोफेशन हम ढूंढ लेंगे। So that's how our theater or life in art is. फिर भी ये जो है ना, थिएटर छोड़ते नहीं, it doesn't really leave me. तभी मैं कहता हूँ हमेशा रवि ठाकुर के, टैगोर के बाद जब थक जाता हूँ तब मैं कहता हूँ क्लांति আমার ক্ষমা করো প্রভু, পথে যদি পিছিয়ে পিছিয়ে পড়ি কবু। That's how everything is happening. Friends, there are many other aspects of Indian culture which cannot be covered in a session. So I finished my unfinished talk here. My heartiest salute to the innovators of Indian culture and great souls of modern Indian theatre. Big souls, great souls. They are no more, but they gave us. We inherited from them. I convey my humble and warm gratitude to Ashok ji, Ashok Vajpayee ji, and Raza Foundation, and to you all for providing me an opportunity to share some of my views about culture and theatre. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Friends, towards the end of his lecture, I felt he was almost telling a story of my failures without realizing that this is a chronicle of my failures. In '92, when I came to join the ministry here, my secretary told me, you'll have all kinds of other jobs, but your basic things are two. One, draft a national culture policy, and two, create a kind of a Bharat Bhavan complex here. So I got very enthusiastic that my some modest talent in these areas is going to have a new opportunity, not having known Delhi all that much. Anyway, I drafted the national culture policy. We had a huge national colloquium in which more than 100 people participated. And some of those whom he lamented, including Habib Tanvir, etc., were active members who participated in this 3-day colloquium. I redrafted it in the light of the recommendations made in that colloquium. Then there was a parliamentary standing committee on the ministry which went through it, and all that. So finally I made a draft, taking all this, and I thought it was a great document. I must have been very stupid to think that, but anyway, having done that, nothing happened. It never came back. I left the ministry, but being a audacious pursuer of dreams, I continued to follow it. I ran into Jagmohan, who became a minister, because he was an IIC fellow. So I told him, okay, sir, there is a policy document lying, why don't you do something? I met Atal Bihari Vajpayee and told him that there is a document. And nothing happened, to cut the long story short. Came the new government. And one day I learned that another committee has been set up, of which I have the dubious honor of being a member, to draft national culture policy. So in the very first meeting, I had retained a copy, being a clever bureaucrat, for myself. So I said, and they have lost track of it. The ministry had no notion. And they said, sir, would you give us a copy? I gave him a copy. The two drafts were prepared. One by Kapilaji and one by me. And then there was a discussion where the culture policy must have a plan of action attached to it as part of the. Now, one of the points that I was stressing in that document was that the budget of culture in Government of India is 0. And please listen to this figure carefully, 0.01% of the total budget of Government of India. And the policy had perspective was that in a period of 5 to 7 years, we should reach 1%, which would mean 10 times of what the provisions were. The story of the National Culture Complex. There was a big plot lying vacant in front of the National Museum. In Lutyens' plan, it was supposed to be the place for National Library. Now, there was no way in which National Library could have been shifted from Kolkata. The whole of Bengal would burn. Whether it goes into that library or not is beside the point. So, I thought this is an opportunity when we can create a national complex there. Now, the national complex, I called it not a national culture complex because it's become very complicated. And I just called it Parisar. So everybody could say कि हम परिसर जा रहे हैं, which is the Hindi word synonym for complex. And Akbar Padamsi and Habib Tanvir and U.R. Ananthamurthy and such like were members of that committee. And since I was also looking after administration, I provided in the very first go a provision of 50 lakhs, which of course could not be spent anyway. The story is, by that time my minister and the Prime Minister had developed a certain tension. So, although we cited the whole document was prepared in which Lutyens' note, Nehru's note, this, that and the other was all appended. When the matter went to the then Prime Minister, he quickly allotted that piece of land to the Ministry of External Affairs, where the present building stands. Now, not to give up, being a stubborn, audacious, small town fry, I thought, let me look for some other space. So on Motilal Nehru Road, there was an empty something like. So I said, well, why not here? But in the meantime, I had a very eminent Odia poet as my secretary and a new minister. And the rule in government is that once you take over, you spend half the time of your tenure in undoing what your predecessor had done. So the minister did not agree to a world poetry conference which was already agreed to. The minister did not find much merit in the national culture policy document, and he didn't see the need for the so-called cultural complex to come in. But the minister was advised of this by this eminent Odia poet. And he kept the file for about 6 months. So I went up to him, said, sir, well, you haven't approved or disapproved? He said, no, why do we need a cultural complex? So I got annoyed and I told him, sir, if buildings make someone immortal, I'm already immortal having made Bharat Bhavan. So I don't need to have another try at immortality. But this is what I was told. I was told to do two things that I'm supposed to be doing. It's not my brainchild that I came from Bhopal and wanted to do the same thing here. Anyway, that also did not happen. And of all things, and this must be said for public record, Kapilaji at that time was the administrative director, or whatever, of the IGNCA. And for our proposal to have the Parisar there, she had given her consent, which later she withdrew. For reasons I do not know. But anyway, there are many things which I do not know. This is one of them. So that's how. A third thing, which also was mentioned, that artists and writers do not get. I had proposed long time ago a national welfare fund for artists and writers. It was agreed to. It was agreed to, dear friends, at the levels of 2 prime ministers, and nothing happened. So, one should not leave such a lecture feeling so depressed that nothing has happened and nothing is going to happen. Of course, nothing is going to happen anyway, but the point remains that these efforts were made, and the artistic community itself has been sleeping. It is not aware, it is hardly, once in a while for ideological reasons or whatever, it comes together. Otherwise, we are all making personal compromises and get a grant or something. And today you have national cultural institutions all headed by people who were never heard of before and shall very soon not be heard of again. So this is the national cultural institutions. So there you are. Thank you very much, RATAN THIYAM, for bringing some of these issues onto the front, and we are very happy. Now, as you know, we are quite irrepressible. We do not stop doing one thing, and within this week we have another event, which is on Kunwar Narayan, who was a Hindi poet who died a couple of years ago, and his new book of poems posthumously being published, and a new book of short story also posthumously published are going to be discussed at the IIC Annex on 22nd September. So you are most welcome. We are starting a series with the collaboration of the India International Center during Gandhi 150, and the first one is on the 8th of October, Gandhi Matters. Just as we do Art Matters, we are having now Gandhi Matters, and in which Ashish Nandi is going to give the first inaugural lecture, Gandhi as a Dissenter. But before that, on the 1st of October, we would have a discussion on Gandhi and dissent to coincide with a book of Ramin Jahanbegelu, The Disobedient Indian, which is on Gandhi. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, RATAN THIYAM, once again. Do come to these events, because I'm sure you're not doing anything better on the evenings when we are doing this. You know?
Thank you, Ashok.
Thank you.
मुझे पता है सब जब आपने किया था सारे अभी तो